Secret identities are a very important element for a lot of superheroes. They allow the hero to have a private life, they protect their loved ones from being targeted, and prevent the hero from being arrested for being a vigilante. With that in mind, it's no wonder many heroes will go to almost any length to keep their identity a secret. Welcome to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Andrew Boyd, and today we will be looking at the top 10 worst ways superheroes hid their secret identities. Let's dive right in, starting with number 10. The Bombastic Bagman. Amazing Spider-Man number 258 is an important issue in the character's history. It is the issue where Mary Jane admits that she knows that Spider-Man's secret identity is Peter Parker. It's the issue where the black symbiote suit causes Peter to have his iconic nightmare. And it's the issue where Spider-Man takes his black suit to the Fantastic Four for analysis and discovers that it is a living alien symbiote. More important for the purposes of this list, it's also the comic that features one of the most beloved Spider-Man looks. Once Peter discovers the black suit's true origin, he tries to take it off, but it refuses to be removed, and Mr. Fantastic is forced to use a sonic weapon to get it off of Spidey. This leaves Peter with no way to conceal his secret identity. Johnny Storm is happy to help him out, lending him an old Fantastic Four costume and a paper bag with holes punched into it for a mask. Spidey heads home, embarrassed at his appearance, but is forced to stop a robbery in his temporary costume. Both the victims, the criminals, and the police are confused at this strange figure with a "kick me" sign taped to his back, and once the crime scene is secured, the Bagman is swarmed by reporters who ask him who he is and if he is dressed like he is as some kind of superhero initiation prank. All in all, one of the more embarrassing ways that Peter has had to hide his secret identity. Number 9. Batman spreads misinformation. After Bruce Wayne returned from being trapped in time, don't ask, he decided that his efforts to fight crime had been too small in scale. So, he decided to take his crime-fighting enterprise to a global level. As Bruce Wayne, he announced publicly that he had been funding Batman's exploits for years and was starting and funding an organization that was going to franchise the idea of Batman so that every country would get its own Batman. He called it Batman Incorporated. Bruce coming out and admitting that he is linked to Batman, of course, led to more people theorizing that the eccentric billionaire might actually be the Dark Knight. Batman, of course, anticipated this and began posting anonymously on internet message boards. In response to a post saying that Bruce Wayne is obviously Batman, Batman posted, "Wrong, wrong, wrong. Bruce Wayne is dead, and this man on TV has completely different body language and posture. Batman has taken control of Bruce Wayne's life and fortune." When questioned about this method, Bruce responds, "Attempts will shortly be made to expose the secret identities of Batman and his allies. When they happen, they'll be lost in a blizzard of rumor, denial, and misinformation. Just one more crackpot conspiracy theory among 1,000 others." So, Batman apparently founded both Batman Incorporated and QAnon in one day. Number 8. Superman's glasses. The granddaddy of them all. The most infamously bad way to hide a secret identity. Clark Kent being able to throw off suspicion of him being Superman by simply wearing a pair of glasses. Of course, it's not just that. He's also changing his entire personality and demeanor to avoid suspicion, and most people don't consider that Superman would even have a secret identity and they aren't looking. Of course, this is still kinda silly, and this issue is addressed in Superman number 330. In this comic, Clark has a nightmare where all of his friends reveal that they know he's Superman and have just been humoring him. He wakes up and considers if maybe his disguise is kind of weak. He looks at himself in the mirror and thinks to himself, "Now that I stop to think about it, that's the dumbest disguise I've ever seen. What, am I supposed to look like a totally different person? I just look like Superman wearing glasses. I mean, what else should I expect? Ordinary people start wearing glasses. Do their friends say, 'Who are you?' No, they say, 'Oh, you got glasses.'" He wonders how his identity has managed to stay a secret until Lana Lang walks in on him changing and asks him why he's wearing glasses. He responds that he's disguising himself as Clark Kent, and Lana says that that is a terrible disguise as he looks nothing like Clark. This confuses him even more until he realizes that he is really using his super hypnosis power. You see, back in the day, Superman had the ability to hypnotize people with his mind, and his glasses, whose lens were made from the window of the starship he came to Earth in, amplified this ability, hypnotizing everyone into seeing Clark as a different person than Superman. This explanation isn't canon anymore, so he really is just fooling everyone with a pair of glasses. sunglasses, which is of course ridiculous. Number 7. Wolverine becomes Patch. When Wolverine and the X-Men were assumed dead following the Fall of the Mutants storyline, they wanted to keep it that way. So, when Wolverine was called to Madripoor to settle his debt to a dying man, he knew that he needed a clever disguise so no one would know it was him. His solution was to wear an eye patch and call himself Patch. Not exactly the most involved disguise. At least when Superman wears his glasses, he's putting on a different persona and changing his hairstyle and posture. But Wolverine doesn't even change his hair away from his classic look. He doesn't act any different from his usual self, he's just Wolverine in an eye patch. He developed this persona in 1988's Wolverine Volume 2 Issue 2, but has dusted it off from time to time, using it as one of his go-to disguises when he needs to keep a low profile. Of course, Wolverine typically wears a mask on his X-Men adventures, so the general public probably isn't overly familiar with his face, but it's still not a very clever disguise. Number 6. The Flash is always late. Barry Allen is of course one of the fastest men alive, being able to reach insane speeds so fast that he can travel back in time. He is a masked hero, so it's a bit easier for him to hide his identity, but in order to prevent people from being suspicious, he has developed a foolproof method of throwing people off of his scent. He never shows up on time for anything. The logic being that if he has super speed, surely he would be able to get to appointments on time. Of course, constantly showing up late for everything is more suspicious than if you just did it occasionally, and a better way to stop people from suspecting him would be to stop wearing a prominent ring with a lightning bolt on it on your finger, which makes people assume that Barry has some kind of link, possibly even an engagement, to the Flash. Number 5. Trench coats. You know in Marvel movies, whenever anyone has to go undercover, they do so by wearing like a baseball cap and sunglasses? Well, the classic comics equivalent of this was the classic combo of a trench coat and a fedora, despite just making the person look like themselves in a trench coat. It remained a staple of comic books for years, with some notable examples being The Thing from the Fantastic Four, as well as it being the go-to disguise for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They still just look like giant turtles in trench coats. While we're on the subject, what is the point of the turtles wearing masks? Are there other giant mutant turtles that they might be confused for? Back on the subject of trench coat disguises, my favorite rendition of this trope is from Marvel's Godzilla King of the Monsters number 19, where Godzilla has been shrunk down and is running through the city. He needs a disguise, so he is put in a trench coat and hat, and it works until some thugs try to mug him and he throws off the disguise and attacks. Number 4. Daredevil's twin. When it comes to superheroes trying to protect their identities, few characters have had such a hard time of it as Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. You'd think that being blind would throw people off the scent, and yet his identity has been leaked so many times it's almost a running joke that everyone knows who he is. One of Matt's earliest and strangest attempts to hide his life as Daredevil came in Daredevil issue 25, when Matt's friends, Foggy and Karen, found a letter from Spider-Man doxing Matt. They confronted him about the letter, and he was forced to think on his feet. He basically told them, no, I'm not Daredevil. That's my identical twin brother, who I've never mentioned before, Mike Murdock. Foggy and Karen of course do not believe this, as he has never mentioned Mike before, and they ask if they can meet him. Matt says sure, and later shows up in flashy clothes and a beatnik attitude, claiming to be Matt's twin, who is Daredevil and can totally see, despite the fact that he is always wearing sunglasses. Somehow this works, and Karen and Foggy never wonder why the two are never in the same room together. Matt continues this Mrs. Doubtfire style charade for the next 16 issues, before eventually faking Mike's death because he had accidentally created a love triangle with his fake twin and Karen. Number 3. Superman gets caught on TV. In Action Comics number 345, Metropolis is being taken by storm by a new candid camera prank show. While picking their next target, they decide to prank the mild-mannered reporter for the Daily Planet, Clark Kent. Their prank is simple. While Clark is at the fair, they will pull a fake robbery. When Clark goes into a nearby phone booth to call the story in, he'll discover that the phone line is dead, and he won't get his story. Hilarious! The prank is set up, and upon seeing the robbery, Clark goes into the phone booth. The TV host and his camera crew throw open the door to tell him he's been punked, and are shocked to see Clark midway into changing into his Superman costume. They confront him, being like, "Clark, you're Superman," to which he replies, "Am I?" He then takes off his pants on live television, revealing that he is wearing Batman's pants, saying, "I could be Superman, or Batman, or plain Clark Kent, Take your choice. The prank show host realizes that he's being pranked, and Clark explains that he saw the broadcast on a pocket television and bought the costumes at a nearby shop to set up his prank. But what really happened was Superman heard the camera crew coming while he was changing, and rather than just closing his shirt, he drilled a hole through the floor, flew to Jimmy Olsen's place, took his pocket TV and the pants from his Batman costume, flew back to the phone booth, fixed the floor, and then let the camera crew catch it. Number 2. Rainbow Batman. In the classic Batman story featured in Detective Comics number 241, Dick Grayson witnesses a robbery and sees that the getaway car is about to hit a little girl. He pushes her out of the way, but hurts his arm in the process. His heroics make the news, and the whole of Gotham hears about his story. It comes to light that the criminals are planning another robbery, and because Dick witnessed the robbery, Batman needs him to come along as Robin to identify the crooks. The problem is that it is now a matter of public record that Dick Grayson has an injured arm. So, if people see Robin with a hurt arm, they might make the connection and discover their secret identities. Batman decides that in order to protect their identities, he will wear a different colored costume every day until they catch the criminals. His logic being that people will be so weirded out that they'll be staring at him and ignoring Robin. He goes through red, blue, yellow, orange, green, and even a white batsuit with a target on it before eventually taking out the criminals in a rainbow batsuit. The plan works and no one notices Robin's arm, but poor Alfred must have been exhausted making all those multicolored batsuits every night. Number 1. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman, dressed as a bird. In the story The Private Life of Clark Kent, featured in Superman Family number 197, Clark gets home after a long day only to discover that his neighbors have left him a myna bird to take care of while they're away for the weekend. The bird keeps bothering Clark, saying quotes from classic movies that it picked up, and is now mimicking. The noise keeps him up for most of the night until he finally tunes her out and gets some sleep. The next day he wakes up and realizes that he was talking in his sleep because the bird keeps saying, Clark Kent is Superman! He tries to fix the issue by making a looped tape that says, Clark Kent is a super newsman, and leaving the bird alone, hoping that the bird will pick up the new phrase. Clark gets home and is met with, Clark Kent is Superman! He takes the bird to the Fortress of Solitude and waits for it to say his secret. And then, every time it does, he screams and leaps out in a giant bird costume to scare the myna. He does this for an entire night until the bird is so traumatized that it refuses to tell the world that Clark Kent is Superman. Clark gets a call from his neighbors a couple days later asking why the bird doesn't say the phrase they spent weeks training her to say as a prank anymore. Clark realizes his mistake, and the comic ends with him trying to retrain a traumatized bird to say that Clark Kent is Superman again. Any other bad or dumb ways that heroes have hid their identities? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe for more Top 10 Nerd.